probably one of the biggest times of fear in my life was when my first husband and I got a divorce, and we were living outside Washington, D.C. And anyway, long story short, I needed to leave there and go somewhere. So I called my brother, and he and his girlfriend flew up there, and they were going to help me drive, or they were going to drive a U-Haul, or it wasn't a Ryder, whatever, one of those trucks. And I would drive my car with my daughter and my dog, it turns out. My dog, who was my husband's dog, who he was mean to, so I took him too. Anyway, I was kind of freaked out because I had nowhere to go. My parents had been dead for a number of years by that time. My brother was not in a stable situation, and so I couldn't go there. So I wound up at a couple who had mentored me in the Lord over the few years. He's a lawyer for my university, or the university I went to, and she was a teacher. And I wound up going from outside D.C. to East Tennessee, where they lived, and just kind of stopping there. But was really freaked out, kept thinking my ex-husband was going to come to his senses, and going back and forth. At any rate, on the drive there, the Lord just spoke to me, and I said, what do you want me to do, Lord? And he was like, look in your heart, where do you want to go? And I said, I want to go to Idaho. Never been to Idaho. My brother had a cabin in Idaho that was not being used. Another whole side story there that I'm not going to get into. But so I stayed at my friend's house for about 3 weeks, trying to get a job up close to the town where my brother lived. My brother lived like 3 miles from the Canadian border, that cabin. And so trying to get a job there, a teaching job, couldn't get it. They couldn't promise me one. They just would say, come up and we'll see. So about this time of year, actually, it was right after 4th of July, I left Memphis. Well, I went to Memphis, which was my hometown, to stop and say goodbye to everybody or whatever before I made this trip. I'd been to Europe and all sorts of places, but I'd never driven alone with my daughter, with my dog, and the fear was immense. The overwhelming fear was like, this is nuts. Even my friends were like going, Donna, this is crazy. Especially the couple that I was staying with, they're just going, you don't know anybody there. You're single. You got to drive like 2,000 something miles by yourself. And I was like, I know. But what else am I going to do? At any rate, I remember I took off the day after 4th of July to start driving. And, initially the first few minutes were fine. First few hours maybe fine. By nightfall, I was in Kansas, I think it was Topeka, and I am just almost hyperventilating because it's like, oh my gosh, can I turn back now, God? And it was like, my big prayer during that time is, just stop me if this isn't you. Just please stop me if this isn't you. And it's really sad because that trip across the country should have been one of exploration, and it kind of was. We did some neat things, but my fear. The fears were so engulfing. They're like huge. Any of you ever been swimming in the ocean? Huge waves washing over you, and you're just come up trying to breathe, and get tumbled or whatever, and just trying to get your breath. Anyway, I think I made it in record time up to Idaho. And the fears, like I said, every night, every day, I'm going, can I go back home now? Can I go back home now? Where home was, I didn't know. But the fears were just, and then by the time I got there, didn't have enough money to drive back anyway. So get to my brother's cabin. It's just totally, Mount St. Helens, had been the year before. It's got ash in the cabin everywhere. I was ready to cry. Couldn't find a job, just one thing after another, yet I just kept saying, do what you need to do today. Just do what you need to do today. And it was, I'm not going to say it was easy, But every day I had to overcome that kind of hyperventilating feeling like, oh my gosh, I'm affecting my daughter's future. Just what am I doing? Da da da. But I kept coming back to that place of, okay, God, I'm trusting you in me to guide me. And if this is not you, stop me. And, to make a very long story short, that's where I met Ken Gift at church. It totally changed my future, and it did eventually produce fruit. But to get there, the abject fears that were washing over me were just totally overwhelming. So again, I'm giving this to you to understand that you're not going to have fruit in your life without having to face fears of some kind.